Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome to the finale, the final round of the 2021 IndyCar iRacing series right here on VirtualRacing.Network. My name is Trevor Greenfield, and I am the host commentator today, as I have been all season long since we started the very first round. Seems so many months ago, but I'm also very pleased to be joined by none other than Gary Godso, one of the great voices of IndyCar that you're hearing all around the iRacing service. Gary, it's so great to have you along with us here for this final round of the IndyCar iRacing series.
Well, thanks for having me. It's just a pleasure to be with you and all these other high-quality, high-caliber drivers. I feel like I'm just surrounded by royalty no matter where I'm looking. But speaking of royalty, because like royalty likes their fair share, their fair wines and their fair champagnes. If Indianapolis is the champagne of IndyCar, then Long Beach certainly is the caviar.
I love the way you put that. It's certainly become one of the crown jewels of the IndyCar circuit, and them just adding this to iRacing this season, it's great. It's obviously the first time we'll get a chance to see this track in our IndyCar iRacing series. So you see on track here, Adam Crane, his last season's champion. He is currently going to be this season's champion, and he's getting ready, goes out wide, and is going to be starting his qualifying lap as he gets ready for his final race here in the IndyCar iRacing series. Gary, that's got to feel great to be jumping into the race car knowing that you already have the series championship basically locked up, and you can just go out there and have fun today.
Yeah, I bet you Palou wishes that he was like that this weekend instead of having to run the race and actually risk something happening and losing first place going into the final race of the year, because there's a long list of drivers that have done that. No one wants to be that guy. But he can sit back, relax. He can drive it as hard as he wants. He can park it on the first lap if he wants. You're kind of sitting in the lap of luxury, and you decide, you choose your own adventure in those books. If you want to, you can just put the book down.
Exactly. Just put the book down. That's one way to go about it. In either case, I don't think you're going to get that out of Adam Crane. Adam Crane is the type of champion who's going to go out there, I think, and give 101% effort every single time, if that's possible, because he's just that way. He's already taken home the Indy Open Championship this last season. Of course, he was the IndyCar iRacing Series champion last year. As he starts another flyer here, we'll go on board with Adam Crane and let him take us around this Long Beach circuit down Shoreline Drive. But absolutely fantastic performance from Adam Crane, as he maybe we'll get a chance to see a record performance here today. I don't know. Let's take a look at the weather as well. 101 degrees on the track. Nice cool temperature, not too bad for today's race. Not going to lead to too much degradation. Of course, again, Gary, they just introduced this new tire update, and although some other races and leagues have been already here at this track and going through the motions, it will play a major factor in today's race as we get a chance to see now David Toth jump into the top spot of 106.53. Matthias Otarola now jumping into second. Moritz Hengel hopped into third. That first lap was only good enough for Adam Crane to, it was just barely putting one on the board. Let's see if Adam can take pole position possibly here with his final sector. Does he do it in the final race? No, he does not. He jumps up to third fastest, so 107.07. We'll jump over to David Toth, who has already won a race this season in the IndyCar iRacing Series on Broadcast Friday, and now looks to do it possibly again. So great to have him in the field. A pro licensed driver, 7,983 iRating. Absolutely astounding stuff. But it's no question that this driver, so skilled, able to do so much with this race car. 106.53 looks pretty unbeatable right now. So we see a number of drivers now finishing up. Moritz Hengel hopped, another driver who has had great races here on Broadcast Friday. He's qualified currently fourth. And Kevin Vermont, I saw racing in a previous race, was doing quite well. French driver just finishing up his laps, ending up in 12th. So watching a number of drivers still completing their laps. We've got Dennis Fritz, a regular here on Broadcast Friday. VirtualRacing.Network putting in his laps. And Hugo Olsson also just completing his last lap. Good enough for sixth fastest, and now working on another flyer. Sixth fastest at a 107.45. So Hugo had a great day yesterday. If you managed to slide that car around. Oh my goodness, that one stepped out there.
That's the new tire model right there.
Absolutely. The new tire model allowing you to ride out that rear end as it wants to slip underneath you. But Hugo had a great day yesterday in the Indy Fix broadcast. If you saw that here on VirtualRacing.Network alongside Gary Godso, we called it, and Hugo was chasing down Adriano Pinero, and he managed to come within just a second of the driver. It was quite exciting stuff. You can catch that replay, but Olsson now is going to slot in behind Crane with that second lap. Good qualifying effort for the Powerslide Motorsports driver. And it's a little bittersweet, to be honest with you, seeing Hugo rejoining us at this point in the season, because you can see how talented and fast Hugo is. Unfortunately, he took a couple of weeks off from the series, and it really affected his overall championship points hunt. But this is where we started the season with Crane, Olsson, and Hengelhop, and then later Toth and Crozier, Matthias Kraus making a run through the season. But it will be David Toth, I believe, as soon as this one goes official and Fritz finds his way in off the track.
20 seconds left. Yeah. So
about 17 seconds.
We're all set, yeah.
So, we've got this other thing going here, Gary. You brought it up last week. There's actually, no, I take it back. I was talking with Justin Petschauer, and he brought it up. There's this West Coast swing that they have in real life in the IndyCar series. Of course, IndyCar is going to be on track at the real life Long Beach circuit here very shortly, just a couple of hours. And but anyway, this is the West Coast swing for us, and this would be the third of the Triple Crown. So if Adam Crane could come through and win today, that would be some phenomenal stuff to see, and he'd be the first to do so that we know of, certainly since they introduced Long Beach this season, or this year. David Toth taking pole position, the driver popping in for Broadcast Friday, so great to have him part of the field. Matthias Otarola there in second. Adam Crane getting third next to Hugo Olsson, just like old times, like we started the season with. It'll be interesting to watch these two spar today and see whether they can give David Toth a run for his money. That's going to be an interesting battle. Hengelhop, someone who can challenge any week. We've seen it week in and week out. He's even challenged Adam Crane. He'll be starting fifth, and outside, Laszlo Szabo. Great qualifying effort from Szabo. We'll see whether that speed can stick. Szabo has had incidents in the past, so we'll keep an eye on that. Richard Crozier going to be starting next to David Porcelli as we take a look at these drivers gritting up on the backstretch. We're going to get going pretty quick here, so we'll go ahead and flip over. Matthias Kraus, your second place driver, next to Dennis Fritz. Leitner next to Garcia, and as we wait for it to flip over here. There we go. Viamont next to Shiba. Great to have Kazuhiro Shiba as well back in the field. Chris Willite, contender in the points. Not where he wants to be starting, back in 15th, but he'll look to have a clean day today. Laura Gerhard, frequent in a lot of different iRacing official series. Great to have her back in the field. Jean Dirks and Giancarlo Schooler in the field today. Redek Sakura making another appearance. And Michael Bumgartner rounding out the top 20 there. We did split today. It is a 3,400 strength of field. Did I get that right, Gary? We were just talking about it.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice number there.
Great number. Thank you so much for showing up to the top drivers like David Toth, who supplied their iRating to today's strength of field. Very appreciated. So we'll get the timing scoring tower up there, and we'll take a look at the points a little bit later. You already know your champion, but second, as we're seeing already some possible incidents in the hairpin.
Oh, yeah, they're piling up in the not the corkscrew, but the hairpin there. So somebody got involved right off the bat. So but we're single file pretty much going into turn one right now, side by side with P3.
I think it was Richard Crozier who had issues there, and side by side through turn one, but back to the way that it was. David Toth, Otarola second, Adam Crane third, Hugo Olsson fourth, top six unchanged, but you jump back to seventh. I think that's where Crozier was qualified, and he dropped back. It's now Porcelli in seventh, and up two spots, Dennis Fritz. Matthias Kraus, your second place in the points. was just going to be talking about him, but he's staying put in 9th. And Fran Garcia now moving up to 10th, up 2 spots already. Back to the front, looking kind of single file down the backstretch as we get set for another 62 laps after this one. Otarola second and Crane running a strong third. Hugo Olsson there in 4th. And we have not seen any change out of the front runners thus yet, but strategy should be a big factor today. And we do have Crozier, unfortunately, jumping back to the pits. Let's take a look at that incident on the first lap. This was actually in turn 1 where Crozier had an additional issue, and then Laura Gearhart almost getting into Crozier, or perhaps getting into Crozier. Crozier has this issue of blinking out sometimes. And unfortunately, as you know, that's part of iRacing, and, you know, just it's part of what you got to deal with out there, Gary.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter whether you're on, you know, the driving side and you're the one who's the one that's blinking, or the one that is watching the driver blink out. It is a very unsafe and insecure situation, that's for certain.
Well, it almost acts as another advantage for the person blinking out when you're behind them, because you're so hesitant that, is that person going to reappear on me? Are they going to reform on me, and is that going to end my race? I was in a race in the TI IndyCar League in Pocono, and we were literally being held up by the guy in P2 because no one could really figure out where he was going to reappear, and it was that distracting. And after a while, I can understand the issues that blinkers have. It's something that they do need to get addressed, because after a while, it's really not fair to everybody else that's riding behind them or it's involved in the race.
Absolutely. One of those subjects that will never get solved.
Nope.
So David Toth putting in our fastest lap, a 107.54 that time by. Flying doesn't look possibly touchable at the moment, but we will see how this shakes out. Of course, those red tires are now kind of starting to go off maybe a little bit quicker than they have been in the past. And that is catching a lot of drivers out, as we've seen over the weeks. But in the last several races that we've been seeing in different leagues, and of course here on IndyCar iRacing Series last week, we saw some serious tire degradation issues. But will it catch anybody out this time? It's not quite hot enough, but it could be a factor at the end of these very long stints. Also, fuel strategy going to be important. Are you going to overcut, undercut? That is the question to these really tight races where you're very equally matched to the drivers in front. So Porcelli,
I'm not so sorry about that. I'm not so sure that sometimes, especially with the new tire model, at least the updated tire model for the Indy cars on road courses. I've been in some races, and like I was in one last night at Watkins Glen, and it seemed like the red just went away a lot quicker than normal. And I've heard that a lot from other people, that the reds seem to go away a lot quicker than normal under this new tire model. I don't know if that just happens to be a coincidence. I'm just talking to a bunch of other people who are having the same problem, or that really is an issue across the service. But these guys might be looking to get off these tires sooner rather than later, possibly get out on those climbs and then maybe ride it out at that point. But we shall see. We're still quite a ways from the pit window opening to get to the end, so a lot of strategy still to play.
Absolutely, a lot of strategy to play, a lot of laps to go, and you know, my main concern is just keeping the wheel straight and not hitting the walls. A lot of times, that's my strategy.
Mine too. Race the racetrack, not the racers. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, there's been a couple of incidents since we were talking. Let's jump back. We've got Chris Willite unfortunately banging walls there. That's not going to work out for Chris. And that one is going to have to be brought back into the pits and repaired. Kazuhiro Shiba says possibly having a moment here. Not quite. Just going very slowly. Chris Willite did jump back to the pits. We had another moment a little bit later. This was Fran Garcia, I believe, and Kazuhiro Shiba. One getting by the other. And then we have Giancarlo Schooler having possibly a moment, or perhaps just going too slowly, that we're getting errant notes in the hairpin because they're slowing down too slow. At least that hasn't happened. You know, we've got also IMSA here this week, both virtually and in real life. And I am scared to death to even try an IMSA race here. I don't even know how the drivers manage to get around here, especially in this. It's if you can't do it in an IndyCar, I don't know how you do it in a prototype or a GT car, but they somehow managed to. But this track is a great one. It's fantastic to have it be part of the service now, and you know, it started with Formula 5000 back in the day, and if you knew what this place, where this track is at. So we see this great battle happening here in for 5th place between Mort Engelhop and David Porcelli, Laszlo Szabo. There was lots of illicit drug dealing and prostitution and tattoo parlors, etc. going on down here. Actually, I love tattoo parlors. That's
check out the battle for 12th. That was pretty tight there for a second. Sorry about that.
Absolutely. We've got Frank Garcia now making a move down the inside, possibly on the backstretch. Kevin Viamont not wearing that pass. So Kevin is just about... He's been slipping back, unfortunately, one of the first drivers to do a 110. That time a 109.14, so previous lap obviously having an issue.
Yeah.
Now in the sights of Fran Garcia.
And I do want to give a shout out to a driver in the field. Started shotgun on all this. Michael Bumgarner's up 7.
Ooh. Well, we've seen a number of drivers do that well in this series on Broadcast Friday, come up from the back. We saw Adam Crane do it, and it was something to behold, coming from the very back a couple of times after having first lap incidents. But and for those of you that want to see one of the best ones, it was at Road America this season. He came from way back in the field, I think almost dead last, came all the way up and took the win. So we've seen some great ones out of Adam Crane, but as you mentioned, this series for everybody and of all skill levels as well. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to challenge for first to get something out of these official races. You can be starting in 20th, and if you can climb 7 spots and possibly be looking at a top 10 at the end of the day, that's meeting your challenge for the day and possibly getting even further. And again, when you look at some of these drivers, Michael Baumgartner from the United States with a 2340 iRating. Now, to say that he is competing in the same race with multiple championship winning drivers like Adam Crane and David Toth, professional licensed David Toth, you gotta have meaningful milestones for yourself when you challenge and try and grow as a driver.
Well, he's only going to get better. I mean, when you compete against the best, your skills become on par with the best. So he's in a great position. He's brought some drivers in front of him that he can follow and probably learn from. And I mean, in real life, we don't even really know what he does. Maybe he might be a real driver and he's just new to the surface. So it's you have that little bit of anonymity there behind this as well. So I'm hoping he has a great race. He's up 7, and he's by far the biggest gainer. Actually, right behind him is Giancarlo Schooler. He's also up 4. So they've been managing to work around the concrete canyons a little bit.
It's always great to look a little deeper in the field, find these heroes that are coming forward. And, like I was just looking at Matthias Kraus's record. Matthias Kraus has only been on this service for a couple of years, and you see this across the board, and you watch these drivers like Matthias who, they have this steady iRating increase over the time that they're on the service. Maybe you're in some IndyCar races with them, and for example, in my own case, I was racing pretty hard in the end of 2020, and I saw him appear in some races, and then he started to get faster and faster. Next thing I knew, he was qualifying near me, then he was qualifying next to me. He's starting to get up in the top 3, and so Matthias making a name for himself this season. When he started out, he wasn't always getting up in the top 5, and he wasn't necessarily a championship contender, but with solid performances, consistent results, continuing to challenge himself more and more. He is currently second place in this championship, and he may have that second place locked up at the end of the week. So
bragging rights and momentum to go into next season.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, such a long break until next season.
Oh, I know.
But kind of jumping around here, good to see some other drivers joining us today. Matthias Otarola. We were seeing Otarola, I believe it was last week in the broadcast. Looking good there in that F1 livery throwback. Moritz Hengelhaupt, as we mentioned, now in 5th. The top 5 drivers not having changed positions at all. But Hengelhaupt has Porcelli right on his tail.
Yeah, this has been the battle that I've been watching right here. These guys have actually exchanged positions a couple of times within the last 5 laps. Porcelli is now really, there's a little bit of a sliding out to the wall over there for Hengelhaupt. Coming into the hairpin right now, but Porcelli is really not letting him get around. And there they go. He always tried to get a little bit of a look on the inside, that run down the front straight. There was one lap that you were talking about, someone or other in the field. I was watching. These guys went, ooh, there's a block, side by side, down all the way down the front straight. And like somebody's got to give there, and eventually they got it straightened out. But they are aggressively going at it. They are throwing some major haymakers out there.
Well, Porcelli was on the button. We saw it from the cockpit here, and he ran out of button about 3/4 of the way down the straight, or he decided to lift. One of the two.
Well, discretion is a better part of valor, and if he saves the car, you save it again for another day and for another attack.
Meanwhile, this battling has allowed the following drivers to catch up, so it looks like kind of a train starting to pile up between Moritz. Yeah. Behind Moritz with Porcelli, Szabo, Kraus, and Leitner all in tow there.
Yeah,
so,
I got a feeling, I hate saying this, but I got a feeling that if Porcelli can get around Hengelhaupt and actually hold on to that position for more than a lap, he'll probably pull away, and then the rest of the drivers in that train behind will probably start passing Hengelhaupt as well. I think Hengelhaupt's kind of holding this group up a little bit. There's only so many places you can pass, and there's only so many places that you can go side by side on this race course.
You know, it's got a nice long straight though, and that's sometimes it's all you need. You got it, but you got to time it right. You got to plan it right. It's hard to do that out of the hairpin. It's even harder to make a pass on the back straight. That final corner is not. I mean, if the car
very friendly at all, no.
Exactly. If the car in front makes a mistake, then maybe you can attack it. But in the meantime, it is, as I said, you know, I've done a number of laps here at Long Beach. This track means a lot to me. It's the first track I ever visited as a child. Used to walk from my car. You could hear the car engine noises reverberating off of the buildings as you were walking down the city streets, and you're like, huh, this isn't a normal Friday at all. They don't do this on Fridays normally down there. But it's so exciting for me to be watching this, and the thing is that I've done now some laps, and I have a great respect for this track. Those concrete walls are so close, so easy to try to push, and you get it wrong, and you know, you think you're going to make some monster pass on somebody, or you're going to get a super fast lap in, but you put yourself in the wall. You got to have a great respect for what these drivers are doing lap in and lap out, keeping it together. And this race here going on, Hengelhaupt staying just in front of Porcelli, and Szabo just slipping off the back now with Leitner and Kraus just behind. But they're all holding together, and this is one too, Gary, where if it goes on too long like this, everybody's starting to push hard on these tires, it may start to really wear at the end of this stint. We may see some cars starting to fly off, and if you can just keep that car on track pointing in the right direction, you may end up inheriting some positions.
Yeah, and I bet these tires are already trash already, so they're counting the laps to get back into the pits, get a new set of freshies on, and start attacking again. And in fact, that train is actually kind of spread out a little bit, so that's indicative of tire wear going on right now at the moment.
So this battle continues now for 5th, probably the tightest battle on the track. Looking at Hengelhaupt here as he continues, he's got about 16 seconds, or almost 17 seconds up to the leader, David Toth, 7 seconds ahead to Hugo Olsson. So pretty much the whole battle happening right now in his rear view mirror.
big fan of that fountain area. Not quite sure what purpose it serves other than something scenic for the cars to go around. I'm more of a fan of the course before they rearrange it because of the aquarium and everything there. The more classic course, the course that I think I used on IndyCar Racing 1 and 2, that's my preferred Long Beach course. But this one's growing on me slightly, but I'm still not a big fan of the side-by-side. Here's Hengelhoff and Porcelli coming into 9 and 10.
Oh, my. And Hengelhoff drove him in a little deep there into 10. Got to let him know I'm not Hengelhoff.
Not giving it up. Nope.
Nope. And this is what we've seen from Hengelhoff. He does not give an inch. That doesn't mean he fights dirty. It just means he fights tooth and nail for those positions. We've seen him go lap after lap with other drivers before, swapping positions. Comes to mind the first Indy Grand Prix for IndyCar iRacing series at Indy Grand Prix, and he was racing with Adam Crane lap after lap after lap. It was something to behold. And so we watch him continue with Porcelli just in tow. Yeah, getting back to the circuit configuration, of course, the very first one had the Queen's hairpin, and then so it had two opposite hairpins when F5000 turned it over to F1. And then not long after, they changed the configuration again to much closer to what you see in the modern day, but that turn one area was substantially different. It was a very fast right-hander, right, left, right-hander, and then you turn right again, and you get onto the backstretch. Fun configuration back in those days. I think when the aquarium came in, I think they probably dumped a bunch of money towards the circuit and improvements, and they said, sure.
We'll give X number of dollars at Chamber of Commerce if you do this.
Absolutely.
Sold. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've been involved with the Port of Long Beach in some different capacities in the past, and in some different ways with the Grand Prix Association of Long Beach and Champ Car World Series, etc. And part of this thing, it's very interesting how it operates behind the scenes. But nevertheless, the legend of this track and all the great drivers that have won here, including Unser Jr., who was known as the King of the Beach, and
yeah, he was.
So many other great drivers that have won here over the years. Just to add your name to that list, and now for it to be here on iRacing, it begins a whole new chapter for the beach, and thank goodness we will always have Long Beach to race on here. That's something maybe we can lobby iRacing for. Could you throw in a couple of legacy configurations? Is there any way you could do that?
I am all for them adding legacy configurations to track, because then that opens the door for giving me an original configuration Indianapolis. That opens the door for giving us Ontario. So I'm all for original configurations, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness, don't even talk about Ontario. We could have a whole broadcast about all of these old tracks. Trenton, Ontario, you go down that list. Shoot, I'm just glad we still have Milwaukee to race on in here, and they haven't made that legacy yet. Anyway, back to the race. We've got a fantastic one going here. Lots of good strategy being employed. Of course, these long green flag stints give a chance for the drivers to really show their ability to adapt, change those anti-roll bars. Of course, there's no weight jacker here on that. There's no oval, but those anti-roll bars and playing with your brake bias, that how the weight transfers forward and rear as you're going on to the brakes and accelerating, all that makes a huge difference to the tire wear over the end of the stint. And that's really where you want to be on your best, because right here, Hengelhoff and Porcelli have been, nose to tail and trying each other out for a long time. But if one of their sets of tires goes off 5 laps before the other driver could gain 5, possibly 10 seconds before the first round of pit stops. So it's just as important to be fast at the end of these stints as it is at the beginning. And that's really, as I was saying before, where their mastery comes in.
Well, don't look now, because Leitner is starting to walk his way into the backside of this battle right here. He's worked his way around Szabo and Kraus to get this far. I've been kind of noticing him in the background, and he is slowly sneaking in.
Well, Leitner, the Budapest driver, making a challenge. And I wanted to say right now, this is something really astounding. I had somebody watching these broadcasts the other day, and they said they were looking at the results screen. They said, wow, that's so international. I can't believe it. And I try to communicate that with people. But right now, the top 12 positions are currently being held by 12 different nationalities. That's being awesome. Claimed by the drivers. So these drivers all racing from all different countries in the world and coming together on iRacing. And really, it's cool because, hey, the real-life drivers are going to be out there on the track here very soon, and they'll take over for the rest of the weekend. But we get a chance to hit here first, hit the Long Beach Grand Prix circuit first, and these drivers get a chance to showcase their skills before everybody switches over to real-life IndyCar.
I am so happy to see IndyCar starting to get a lot of traction internationally. I think a lot of that had to do with Fernando Alonso making the trip over, actually skipping Monaco to race Indianapolis. I mean, that's a big deal.
Definitely.
And even if he was just a back marker at Monaco, I mean, that's still a lot of money for those guys to skip all that just to come to Indianapolis. And now you have these, they used to be called Formula One washouts. Well, now they're just, available drivers on the market that are real high quality drivers that got kind of sick that's sitting on the back of the, because it's unfair to say you're a Formula One washout when you're given not the same equipment that the same guys that's running on the front of the grid is versus what I'm running on the back of the grid. Here in the even going back to the RL or even going back to or now the current series IndyCar, I got the same chassis. I have two choices of an engine. I have the same tire. I'm pretty much on par with the guy in front of me. It's all up to my ability. And as you see, good drivers are going to do good things. Grosjean, I think, just kind of got a bad reputation for just being a back marker. You put him in a good car, and you put him on par with what the rest of the drivers are having, and look, all of a sudden now he's a star in IndyCar racing. And I think you're going to see a lot more former Formula One drivers think about possibly making the jump over here. Not that there wasn't back in the 80s and 90s, but I think you're going to see a lot more of those fans following them as well, going, I want to check this out. I want to check it out more than just the Indy 500. I want to check out the entire schedule. Maybe make a trip over there, attend the race, something like that. But I'm so happy to see the international aspect of IndyCar racing is on the upswing right now.
You bet. It's been there over the years. It really diminished at the end of the split years, and then I think everything came back together. It's taken a long time to heal. We're watching Hugo Olsson, though, on the button, chasing down Adam Crane for third.
There we go, yeah.
This could evolve into something. He's been getting closer and closer, and there Olsson makes the move down the inside.
Not quite able to hold off that pass. Crane shuts the door. We've seen what Olsson can do on old tires.
And Olsson, on my screen, he clipped off the right front side of his wing, but it's repaired its damage. It looked like he just got very, very close there, and probably a little
Transformer's mirage there snaps back on and more than meets the eye. But he's trying to recover himself a little bit. He might be trying to shake the car and see if there's anything else. Might have registered maybe a 0x or something. He's just trying to see if he's all in one piece there. But that allowed that fight to go from side by side into turn 1 now to 1.7 second deficit going into turn 9.
Well, and again, that's just part of what I was talking about. It looked like Olsson, last time by was a 109.59 faster, 0.3 faster than Crane, and now they'll hit the stripe again. But he was faster than Crane, and so the tires may be starting to come to Olsson here at the end and maybe starting to fall off a little bit more on the VRS satellite machine up in front. And all of a sudden, Hugo finds himself in a position where now I can not only make a play on Adam, but I'm literally faster because Adam is struggling. And possibly coming into that fountain section, we've seen it so many times. It's hard to get the braking and everything, the timing just right, even when you're on a clear track, but let alone if somebody in front of you is struggling or maybe a little bit harder on the brakes because they're unsure of the tires. It can just throw off all of your timing. And wow, we're seeing Hugo Olsson really sliding and struggling now.
He should go up the road a little bit to Hollywood and apply to be a stunt driver for the next Fast and Furious movie with the way he's doing power drifts around this place. At like 3 corners in a row, he was sideways watching that back end waggle a little bit. He's probably, he does not want to see that because he's trying to get down all that power so he can get a run, but the car's not allowing him because those tires are spent.
And Crane dives for the pits, Toth dives for the pits, and Hugo Olsson decides to, did he continue? Yes, he did
he's
continue.
Continuing. So 22 laps, 23 laps is the opening to the window here, and how come it's not surprising after watching yesterday's race with Hugo Olsson deciding not to do the early pit window? He's going to go until he can't go no more.
He's saying, well, the strategy works. I don't care if it's an oval or not. I'm just going to keep employing it until it doesn't work anymore. I can't, why fix something that isn't broken? So Otarola now taking over the lead. That will put Olsson in second place and Hengelhaupt in third. Olsson did a 109.53 that time by, and just for reference, it's about 1.3 seconds off of his fastest lap. So he's definitely lost quite a bit of time towards the end of the stint, and really that's where this sort of undercut overcut thing can really come into play. But then you balance that out with less time spent in the pits taking fuel, and there is Matthias Otarola diving into the pits for his first stop.
And
Hugo staying out. Well, you wanted some intrigue. As I said, sometimes the intrigue is the strategy, and Hugo, you see it right there, 2020 Open Wheels 500 winner. There's a lot of people that compete in these races, but to pull one off like that, we've seen Hugo do some pretty masterful stuff behind the wheel. He's one of these drivers that when he has a winning strategy, it's basically impossible to stop him. It's kind of like Crane, but Crane will drive his way to the front more often than not. Hugo seems to be so smart behind that wheel that sometimes he outthinks these other drivers, doesn't even give them a chance.
Well, and that's he's doing it the easy way, actually, because you're passing them when they're pretty much sitting still in the pits. That's what he's doing it with strategy. He's doing it while they are in the pits and he continues to move. And that's the easiest pass of all.
You bet. So desired when you're behind the wheel. You just want to see yourself climb positions after a pit stop. Okay, Hugo Olsson will dive to the pits. Hengelhaupt there. I feel like that was very close there as we were just watching overhead. Apologize for cutting away. Hengelhaupt not bailing to the pits. Porcelli not going into the pits. These drivers continuing. Norbert Leitner is also continuing. So all three of these drivers risking it, going now onto lap 25.
Yeah, they're going to 25, and I'm sorry, but there was a driver exiting the pits too that could have impacted that also as well. They have a really, really weird pit out here where you have to go down almost to the very end of the front straight, almost past turn one. I mean, you really got to crank the wheel to get back on it. I hope they rearrange that or are able to do something to make it a little bit less. It looks dangerous to me, honestly, especially with slower traffic's coming out. But they almost ran into some folks there. Now they have traffic in front of them. I believe all these people in front of them have all recently stopped, so they're going to be on fresh tires. They should not be catching these guys unless they are having some sort of car problem.
David Toth, as you can see there on your screen, lap 24, fastest lap of the race, and that's how the pros do it. World champion license right there for David Toth. Yeah, his first out lap, a 107.53, and that, like I said, in laps, out laps, that's how you get it done. David Toth putting on a clinic here on how to qualify on the pole and how to run away with a race.
And that's great from the strategy book of some of the Formula One greats who figured that those in laps and out laps are kind of wasted. And to maximize on them, you can get a lot of make up a lot of ground. Senna was a master at that. Schumacher was the master at that. And so all you have to do is apply what is already in the recipe book there, and you too can make yourself an over and under cake.
If that's all it took, and I didn't have to be equally as talented as them, then I'd be a champion by now. David
too, yeah.
Right. The Greenfield and Godso IndyCar champions. David Porcelli now inheriting that lead. We wonder when he will pit. He and Leitner there first and second, now pitting.
Yep.
As we watch, he got very, very close there at the end, coming to the stripe, getting that thing slowed up to the speed pit limit. 40 miles an hour here on.
Falling.
I know, it's slower than you can drive it in real life. That's surprising, right?
I really wish. Sorry, I really wish that. That's another thing that on the iRacing wish list, that you can make a variable pit road speed, so I don't have to be at a NASCAR pit road speed on a track that primarily hosts NASCAR. That I don't have to, if I'm going to be in a throwback race with like the Lotus 79 or even the NASCAR 87 car, which didn't have any speed limits on pit road, that I could get rid of those altogether if I wanted to. I wish they would build a little bit more flexibility into it, but once again, we're in a NASCAR world and we're just living in it.
I completely agree. We must have cross brains, because I was just thinking about historic IndyCar racing and how cool that could be on a service like this, with some amount of participation. But I think participation is one of those subjects that does come up. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's like the Lotus 49 and even the Lotus 79, really, I mean, those are old cars. They need to be updated for sure, but unfortunately they're some of the least participated, and I often wonder, what would be the future if they did introduce a historic 60s or 70s IndyCar to the service and maybe some historic tracks. That would be a lot of fun.
Mid-90s IndyCar, late 80s IndyCar, like a 88 March or something like that, or a 99 Renard, something like that. Oh, that'd be so awesome. So awesome.
Have my money. There's no doubt. I got money sitting here waiting for that for sure. I'll buy two.
I will give it to you based on a promise. I mean, that's all about.
Yeah, they could show me a preview video. I'd pre-order that. But again, it's about the bigger numbers. It actually doesn't really matter. As long as we get to have fun on iRacing, that's all that matters. These drivers take it pretty darn seriously, though. And I'll tell you what, David Toth, Oterola, Adam Crane, Hugo Olsson, Maura Tanglehop, all qualified 1 through 5, and that's exactly where they are, holding station, which, I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. Usually you don't see qualifying exactly play out that way, but it just is a testament to how consistent and I guess really how qualifying does say their actual speed today, their actual pace.
He ranks them, yeah.
But after that first round of stops, we can see that Toth obviously inheriting the lead once again. Oterola now 9 seconds adrift. And Adam Crane, Oterola the Argentinian, Adam Crane the Canadian here in third. And he's just 5 seconds back from Oterola. Their times, can put that up on the screen so you can check that out. Last lap, 108.73 for the leader, 108.59. Might be a little different than what you're seeing there because of the way that the software rounds it, but 108.59 for Matthias, 108.8 for Crane, 108.8 for Olsson. Sorry, 108.6 for Olsson. So, everybody kind of within the same ballpark. Porcelli and Leitner on those fresh tires. If we go back to that battle, you can see it's now turned into Porcelli with Leitner, and Szabo's now slipped back a little bit.
Go back a little bit further. Nice battle for 9th. Looks like a 3-car battle, all within a second of each other.
Michael Baumgartner and Fran Garcia, Matthias Kraus, and Kevin Vaimont just 1 second adrift.
Starting to enter this battle too. Oh, there's contact right there.
That was Fran Garcia.
Position, and that might cost him actually the race. Back up the speed. But if I'm Vaimont right now, that's behind him, I'm going to take that a little bit easier because I don't know what's going to happen when he hits that slow speed turn coming up. Take it easy.
Guess they may have survived. I don't know. Garcia's not looking too out of control. Didn't pull off into the pits unexpectedly.
Pretty hard lick. That was a pretty hard lick.
Well, these are how many years they've been racing these freaking cars now? These things are like tanks.
Yeah, well, everyone thinks 18. 18 is the aero package on apply to these cars.
Right.
The base, the tub, that's DW12, and this car's been around that long. It's almost been around 10 years. I believe we're looking at a new car model here coming up here, maybe 2023. Even talking about hybrids, doing some stuff like that. I don't know if it's going new KERS or whatever, but I know that's on the discussion table. At least that's what I've read in the magazines and all. So you'll see these cars probably another couple more years. And I think that's why you're also seeing the grid count, the car count on the grids go up, because as these cars get longer in the tooth, there's more of them available. So more teams are picking them up, getting a good deal, and sticking a driver in there, and that's why IndyCar is starting to have fields upwards of 26 drivers now.
And just as we get to that point, let's go ahead and introduce a brand new car that everyone has to buy. I'd love to see it continue for another few years. I think the real problem is the technology and certainly the aero screen, and they want to get some more things integrated as far as that goes, and the hybrid technology, which they're promising will change the racing, but we'll find out.
We'll see about that. We'll see about it. But remember, back in the 90s and 80s, it was a new car every year.
Yes.
And if you didn't have the latest car, like if I was at driving a 92 Lola and I had a 91 Lola, that 91 Lola, forget it. It's competitive to keep you at speed, but it's not going to keep you competitive to win a race. And even on a year-old car, you were out of the business. So yeah, every year you would used to have to buy a new chassis. Of course, they had the engine leases back then. Only one tire manufacturer for most of the time, other than the mid-90s when the Firestone started coming back in. But it was a very expensive sport back in the year. So now they're at least able to drive at least the Tub for about 10 years, and they've been on the same aero package for 3.
And it's been interesting to watch it evolve, and yeah, into this spec car era, essentially, with 2 different engine manufacturers, but fairly good parity between the manufacturers. And obviously, as far as we go, we don't have a difference in iRacing. We don't have a difference between the engine manufacturers, so it is truly a spec car here. Yeah, my dad.
That would be cool, though. That would be cool if we could choose engines. I'm sure that's a licensing deal or something right there, but that would be really cool that I could, before I get in here, what do I want? Do I want a Honda? Do I want a Chevy or whatever? That would be great.
And it had some sort of balance of performance or something associated with that.
For sure.
Well, who knows? Maybe the future will bring something like that. I heard recently that there will not be a third IndyCar supplier showing up to field cars coming at least next year or possibly the year after, but who knows, maybe there will be another one. Yeah, my dad back in the day even telling me how racing in Formula Atlantic, he raced here at Long Beach way back in the day as a prep race for F5000 and during F1 years. And Atlantic with Bobby Rahal, Gilles Villeneuve, Danny Sullivan, just so many drivers coming up through there. But even in those days, if you didn't have the latest, greatest and show up with a semi to the track filled with engines, you were going to be 20th position. And my dad Fred Greenfield buying a TUI out of Europe, designed by the legendary Alan McCall, and it was originally an F2 chassis. They stretched it in their shop and made it make homologation for the Atlantic Series, and it was something else. He actually ended up winning a race in the Atlantic Series at Westwood, British Columbia. There was something else, buddy.
that is from USAC Champ Car racing from the late 60s into the 70s, where I could think, well, it kind of looks like a car. Let me lengthen it out, throw a wing on there, throw an offie in the back. We'll put some tires on it. Let's go qualify at Indianapolis. You know, and that's what they would do back in the day. Nowadays, you cannot do that.
Absolutely.
Not at all.
Nope, it's not that world anymore, but it's what brought us to this point. It's what actually built all these buildings around downtown Long Beach, was the success of this race, and it was built on the back of the early days, the IndyCar series taking over from Formula One here. And it's changed so much downtown Long Beach. But back to this race, you got Porcelli. He started two positions back in 8th place. He's up to 6. Norbert Leitner just behind, 7th spot. 11. He started in 11th, up to 7th, so climbing 4 spots already today. Good climb. Oh,
Caught the wall.
Well, we have our own broadcaster's curse here on VirtualRacing.Network. It's been known to happen, and my apologies to the number 2 driver, Norbert Leitner from Budapest. He unfortunately clipped the wall. Perhaps maybe he's got the broadcast going on the side, and he's saying, yeah, I'm doing good. He's calling my name, and then bam, hits the wall. No, I don't think that's it.
That's going to be terminal right there. That front wheel not going to get him around at that angle. That's a bad camber.
That is
or toe. That's a bad toe.
That is a bad toe, indeed. And that's the thing, when the steering on these cars gets broken, they're just dangerous. You can't even begin. I mean, if the toe is off by just a little amount, have you completed these races with broken steering? You got to drive the car with like the steering wheel halfway turning to the left or the right just to keep it going straight?
I tried, and I got an EOL out of it the next race because they saw me doing it.
Right.
So I tried, but no, it's they said dangerous driving. I'm like, dangerous? This is a sim. Who was I getting ready to kill? But it's, I guess, it's really not fair to the other drivers around, but that are also just kind of participating, trying to have fun. You don't want to ruin somebody else's fun. Looks like he's back out, and they got the pit crew got that fixed. Yeah, I've tried it. It don't work. It don't work at all.
Not at all. No, I've learned in this series you've got to take not only the required repairs, you have to take those optional repairs. And also, if anybody's listening, if you have steering damage, until it's confirmed that it's been fixed, please pit and like tow just before your race box. Exit the car and tow to your pit box, because and there, unfortunately, Leitner hitting the wall again. That could be that problem again where the steering did not get fixed because it didn't get fully repaired. It's been a common issue catching numerous drivers out.
Yeah, he got that. He caught the wall in turn 8 there. Turn 8's a pretty fast entrance. Pretty flat. It does have those rumble strips or curbing in the inside, but they're not very impactful curbing, very small. So a lot of cars kind of just hit that and cut them, right? And then if you do hit those, especially your tires hit those, what is left of the curbing there a little bit, it'll shoot the back end out, and then it'll shoot the car to the wall. And that's what looks like what might have happened. I don't know. We have to go back and look at the replay to be sure, but he probably just hit that corner a little too hot.
Well, thanks to the power of the internet, we can actually go back in time and look at that replay, and we'll just see from Leitner's point of view. Does not look like he clipped the apex, just had a lot of understeer, forced him out to the outside of the track. So who knows? Didn't appear to have any damage at that point, even after hitting the corner. But unfortunately, having to pit back and tow back to the pits.
And Hanglehop also hit the wall in the same spot. He kissed it, but he definitely made contact. That's going to open the door for Porcelli. Porcelli's all over him now. He sees blood in the water on that one.
There he sits just behind. We're watching from on board. David Porcelli riding in 6th position, looking at a top 5 position, potentially finish here on Broadcast Friday. We are over halfway here. The finale, 15 races in. It's hard to believe we've done that many broadcasts, and I think we're also getting dangerously close to 50 broadcasts we've done since we started our very first one, covering the IndyCar iRacing series this season. But as we start in on lap 38 here towards 63 of this finale.
Hanglehop does have damage, at least what I'm seeing on my screen. Sorry to cut you off. It looks like the left rear deflector, tire deflector arrow piece there was kind of flapping in the wind. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that. See if that's going to impact his overall speed.
Well, we have two battles really going on here. Crane is just, was 0.7 of a second up on Hugo Olsson, and now Hanglehop in 5th position, just 0.6 of a second. You see there, losing a little bit of time through the hairpin and out onto the straight. I see Hanglehop there on the button. So trying to defend that position from Porcelli. Porcelli choosing not to use the button there. So recap on push to pass, because we don't have a graphic that shows this. 4 left for David Toth. Otarola with 0 pushes left. So that will be a factor with 25 laps to go should he come under attack. Adam Crane with 7. Hugo Olsson with 7. Hanglehop with 6. Porcelli with 4. Szabo with 8. And Baumgartner also with 10. Now, this is something I didn't expect. If we look back at Laszlo Szabo, it's a driver trying something a little different. He's got the white sidewall tires on there. One of only 2 drivers doing that right now, with Bumgarner just behind, trying to figure out that long game, perhaps deciding today's the day, Gary. We're going to win it on the overcut.
Yeah, I'm still watching this battle back here with Hingelhoff and Porcelli. They are just going at it all day long. These guys are going to be really tired when they're done. But yeah, going for the long game. Probably you're not going to see, because we're on a road course, you're not going to get a full course kick I don't even think this will kick off a full course caution, even if there's a track blockage. I'm not sure, but he's just kind of hoping that a little bit of attrition in front of him and staying on the track longer than everybody else make up a couple of positions.
So close to the wall. Hingelhoff hanging it out there. The Berliner looking back at this rising superstar Porcelli, who we've seen climbing the order here on these broadcasts. Porcelli now looking out from his car, the back end of Hingelhoff. This would be a great pass for Porcelli. This would be a great top 5 to finish your season off with, and certainly looking forward all the way to next season. A lot of these drivers are gonna take the results from the end of this season, say this is a series I want to compete in next year, mark it on the calendars, maybe one of the very first 2022 series that I want to compete in, but it's going on there. It's been great. These races have been fantastic, and now seeing these great battles happening here at the end between Hingelhoff and Porcelli, Crane and Olsson. Series has got a really bright future if they don't make it into a pro series, which could happen. Porcelli possibly looking to the inside there. That's a difficult.
That nose in there, yeah.
That is a tricky spot to get one done. And here's another place where you could make a pass. It's trying the outside there. If you got enough of a run, you could go to the inside here. You got to watch out for that apex. Here, headed down into this corner before we get onto the back stretch. The other spot, if you got a good enough run, driver in front gets a problem. Or, of course, here on the back stretch, very bumpy, difficult leading onto the back stretch. And again, you'd have to attack the driver in front pretty early on to get that pass done by the time you get to that corner. And around this infamous double left-hander and into the hairpin. Little loose under braking there.
Worn tires there. Let's see, they're currently 16, 15 laps into their stints respectively. So they're about 10 laps, 11 laps respectively, probably away from their next pit stop if we're going on the exact numbers. We'll see. Porcelli might just say, you know what, I'm going to try to go pit earlier and see if I can get in front of him, which he might do, because I do think Hingelhoff is holding him up, to be honest.
And that's what you see, possibly if Porcelli can get by, he might be able to make some time on Hingelhoff. But part of driving is knowing how to defend. And if you can make your car wide, the infamous driver Michael Schumacher basically knowing how to make his car 2 cars wide, very difficult to pass. But as we can see, and then of course you've got the infamous Pruitt fade, which we haven't been seeing here from Hingelhoff yet, but we may.
I was in a league, and there was a guy that wrecked a car going down the backstretch of the Indy 500, and he goes, "I didn't turn my wheel once," and we're side by side going down to the hairpin, by the way. But I'm like, "Yeah, you didn't turn your wheel, but you Pruitt faded them all the way down the backstretch."
We are side by side into turn 1. Will it be Porcelli or Hingelhoff?
I think Porcelli's going to send it deep.
Deep indeed.
Both of them.
But Hingelhoff retakes that position. Quite a battle happening here for 5th place. Again, great to have you with us here live, VirtualRacing.Network, for this finale here at Long Beach. Alongside Gary Godso. My name is Trevor Greenfield. Look like Hingelhoff wiggled there coming off.
There, yeah. Now, do we have to explain to everybody what a Pruitt fade is?
Do we have, in this day and age, do we have to explain who Scott Pruitt is?
Yeah, maybe. Actually, he's helping Plow, isn't he? I think he's in his ear. But, yeah, Scott Pruitt, well-known road racer in various types of forms of auto racing. He was a longtime IndyCar driver. Specifically, I remember him for Pat Patrick, but he did other teams as well. But he was known for being really hard to pass, and he would have this little thing where he wouldn't quite block you, but he'd kind of be moving the car regardless because he would be aiming the car in that direction to start with. And people were like, oh, he's blocking. Well, not really, but he was. But he made it really difficult for people to pass him. That's the Pruitt fade, and I believe that's from the vocabulary of Paul Tracy.
And you can imagine how many times that move was performed on Paul Tracy, thus earning that moniker. But
but I bet there was a colorful word in front of that from Paul Tracy on the radio.
Well, we've got a moment here with Szabo coming out just in front of David Toth and almost clipping David Toth. No, I apologize. I was looking at the wrong driver. They actually was not Toth who he came out in front of. He's got a teammate in the field with identical colors. But I was thinking,
though.
Okay, Toth has pitted from first, so that will give over the lead to Otarola. We just saw Adam Crane coming into the pits there a moment ago. So Crane doing the opposite and perhaps trying to... Well, actually, he's about on pace with where he did his first stop. So Crane not really adjusting his strategy to what Hugo Olsson has been doing or other drivers. Take a look. Olsson now on pit lane. So he's chosen
early.
Yeah, to pit a little early. I don't know if that's a pace decision and maybe the tires are starting to come off, or it was planned to do a sort of shorter second stint.
Well, temperatures come down on the track, 98 degrees, still 76 ambient, so you should be getting at least a slightly longer tire wear, even on the reds or the alts there, because we're about 2 degrees cooler than where we kind of started.
That is amazing, and not only that, we're 4 degrees with that overcast. No, it's 98 now, so we're 2 degrees cooler than just like 2 minutes ago when I showed that temperature on the screen. So it changes quickly, and perhaps these drivers are aware of that. I don't know if 2 degrees would make a difference, but if we're 4-6 degrees different than when we started, especially if overcast is what's causing it, that could definitely start to play a role in these drivers' minds. Otarola now into the pits, handing over the lead to Moritz Engelhaupt, who, despite having some issues, having a bucking Bronco underneath him, he's managed to keep the car on track, and now it gets clipped
right there, and that was driving into the back. Ooh.
Oh, that is really difficult. Let's watch that again. So, did you catch who that is? The other driver?
Viamont, I believe.
Indeed, Viamont. It's tough to tell because our software doesn't give us that information. So let's back it up and take a look from Viamont's point of view. That's a rough one coming from 10th position. And Viamont, unfortunately, getting into the back of Engelhaupt, who now is out of that conversation. And so...
Oh, no, they're having a conversation right now on the radio. But that conversation on the racetrack, that is done.
Well, thanks to the new broadcasting standards put out this season by iRacing, we cannot bring you that driver chat.
People really asked, what are you thinking?
My goodness. Well, indeed, and Engelhaupt has had a couple of comings together over the season, but not really his fault, and certainly that one was not his fault at all, and they'll have to straighten that one out with iRacing protests or something like that later. 107.12 for your leader, David Toth, who's on a tear, putting on a clinic, and looking like he deserves his World Champion Pro license that he currently holds. It's hard to believe that anybody can do something like this when we've seen the likes of Adam Crane, Hugo Olsson, and a number of other drivers be able to put their mark on this series as practically unbeatable drivers. But as Toth now, I think, is trying to get around Viamont, should be very careful. But
well, for variety, I mean, he might be damaged. We don't know that, but yeah. Again, I said this before. The iRacing IndyCar internet community is very small, and people remember things. And well, I mean, Hingelhoff made it verbally clear who hit him, and he was upset. And that was on the net. That was on the driver's net. So they all heard that. So I'm sure that Toth took that into consideration. I would have.
Like I said, it would be so much more entertaining if I could just turn on that driver chat and we could just tone down our commentary and listen.
No. That you will be defunded on YouTube for sure.
Yeah. We do all these races for free, so they can threaten to take the money away, but there's no money. We're proud to do it. This has been great. We've launched VirtualRacing.Network. It's a boring time for me to ever talk about the successes of what we're doing, but at the same time, thanks to everybody who's been watching, subscribing, liking these videos. It started with the IndyCar iRacing series, and we're now well upwards of 170 subscribers. We're now covering 5 different races a week and looking to add more. Pleasure to have Gary Godso joining us for the very first time in this series, but hopefully for a lot more future broadcasts to come, and also some other broadcasters going to be stepping in, announcers stepping in with us as well over the course of some of the other broadcasts that we're doing. Prime Meridian Racing League's administrator in our YouTube chat, Jessica Sabin, stopping by to say hello.
Hey, Jen.
And it's a perfect time to get involved with Prime Meridian Racing League. They're going to be starting up season 2 here in October. It's now free entry, so any IR18 IndyCar drivers want to run sort of the 12 o'clock Pacific time, which would be 3 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesdays. Perfect league to get involved with. Just go to iRacing.com or official PMRL, iRacing.com, go to the leagues and submit. Free. We'll see you on broadcast Wednesday. And, of course, Cesar Manzato also stopping by to say hello. Cesar is right up there in the points, and I think going to end up in 3rd spot in the points at the end of this one. We'll have to see how it all ends up at the end of this week. But great broadcasting you, Cesar. We look forward to seeing the North Sim racing team driver back again next season and in some of our other broadcasts. Jordan Lacey letting us know that he's looking forward to joining us in the next season. Thank you so much, Jordan. It's been a pleasure covering you as well. You're an incredibly talented driver. Again, looking forward to having you back, and we'll look forward to it. I'm sure the racing landscape will look quite different in 2022, but we're excited about it. We're going to have all kinds of new iRacing stuff to play with, and hopefully not too many more system builds to have to deal with.
Well, and the PMRL is a great example of what I was talking about the international attention that IndyCar is starting to pick up right now. It's an international-based league. Obviously, as you can tell by the race and start times, it's like 3 p.m. in the afternoon here, but it's in their evening over there. But again, it's a perfect example of a bunch of European fans wanting to try IndyCar racing, get involved in IndyCar racing, and it's just indicative of the growth that IndyCar is seeing overseas.
It is great to see it that way, and certainly for a driver like Grosjean, he's proved positive. We've seen Ericsson and Chilton come over from Formula One, even Rossi immediately winning the Indy 500.
Yeah, he was the test driver, and he really didn't want to be there. Let's be fair. He did not want to be in IndyCar. He made it verbally clear until he won the Indy 500, and then he's like, well, what do I do now? So if he didn't win the Indy 500 and let's say somebody else who finished that, Carlos did second, finished second that year. Mm-hmm. If he had just a little bit more gas in the tank and won that race, I don't think Rossi would still be here. But being an Indy 500, I think being an Indy 500 champion changes a lot. And AJ Foyt was right, especially during the split. It wasn't Andretti that made Indianapolis. It wasn't Mears that made Indianapolis. It wasn't Roger Penske that made Indianapolis, at least back then. It was Indianapolis that made them. And I believe that Rossi, if he didn't win that 500, it's questionable if he'd still be around today.
There's a lot of there's a lot of analysis and opinion there, and I'll leave it at that. I don't know what to say as far as Rossi goes. I think I think that he struggled a lot, and Andretti has struggled, and part of that conversation is now why Grosjean is going to Andretti, made official today, and why Ryan Hunter-Reay is leaving, etc. The competition overall has risen. And everybody is forced to, when you see
car off in turn 9 area. I'm not sure who it was, but yeah.
My last note had Moritz Hengelhop crashing. He had damage already and sliding away into the tires.
Yeah,
so
that was him.
So that he's still shown with damage. So apparently he had crashed before that. He did say that he jumped to the pits.
Yeah, he got, I remember he got rear-ended by Viamonte going into 1, so he got towed back to the pits and repaired, but that car is not right.
Nope. Unfortunately, it's seen better days.
I like the livery, though. That's Niki Lauda's Formula One Ferrari livery. I love it.
I see that. Well, what a classy tribute back to the days of Formula One here. Got to have some fun in R Factor 2 for a time, doing some F1 races back in the day. There's some good mods over there. But I just remember Niki Lauda, beautiful car, and then recently seeing Rush and getting to relive a lot of that same experience of back in the day, the way the 70s cars were.
Yeah. Great movie.
They really need to do one of those, like, proper, not driven style, but they need to do one for, like, the history of IndyCar or kart.
Driven. That was a couple hours that a lot of us aren't getting back.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we've only got 10 to go here, Gary. It's just 10 remaining in this season, and Hugo Olsson has gotten by Adam Crane while we were away. Let's take a look back at it. This was onto the backstretch. It looked like Adam Crane suffered there getting into the wall. That just allowed Hugo Olsson to get by and move him up into the final podium spot over your champion to be crowned for this season, and that'll make 2 in a row for Adam Crane. But Olsson's on a tear.
Olsson on a tear in the closing laps. Tell me I haven't seen something in the last 24 hours like that.
Again, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch our race from yesterday in the Indy Fixed, Indy Fixed series. I should use the proper name. iRacing IndyCar, iRacing NTT IndyCar Fixed series. It was something else to behold. Hugo Olsson coming from seconds back on Adriano.
And that said a lot, because at the end of his first tire stint, he was literally a moving chicane, and he was so slow compared to everyone else. And he'd get on the pit road, comes out way deep into the field, and just drives right back up within a second and a half of the leader at the end there. 5 more laps probably would have got him. If he pit maybe 2 more laps earlier, he probably would have got him. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know what they say about that. But, hey, P2, great strategy. This guy definitely is thinking well ahead of the laps that he's currently on.
Well, I'll tell you who the fastest guy on track is right now, and you're looking at him. It's Hugo Olsson. Shocked. A 108.88 last time by. Your leader, a 109.12, and just in front of Hugo Olsson, well, I say just in front, 8.75 in front is Matthias Otarola, and Otarola 109.34, so a half a second faster for Olsson. Could we possibly be seeing yet another replay of what we saw yesterday, where at the end of this stint, it's Olsson who starts having this car coming to him? The Masters over at Powerslide Motorsports putting together a setup that holds and outlasts the competition. We will find out.
Cars in front of him. Now he'll need to get around before he can get in direct contact with P2. And he just pulls right over. That's very nice of him. Again, we remember that.
If you want to earn a lot of community friend points, and you're going to get lapped, or you're going to go down a second or third lap, just either hold your line and let the drivers pass when they need to pass, or if you have enough time and you can do it, pull to the inside or outside and let the other drivers go by. If you can do that.
It's just as simple as watching your relative and paying attention to it. And other drivers, you know, I'm not the fastest on road courses, but in the leagues that I run, the drivers that are around me know that I'm paying attention and that I will get out of their way. I have a good reputation for that. And favors are returned when favors are need to be returned, and that's what we all do and remember. So, but if you know, you're not going to pay attention to that stuff, and you're going to make your car unpredictable, you're not making very many friends.
I mean, ultimately, we've seen so many drivers come in, and I've seen this in real life too, in like karting, for example. Drivers come in just totally reckless, no real regard. They're fast. They know how to be fast, but they don't have the racing skills yet to race clean and fast at the same time. And they earn a lot of negative marks in the community. And I mean, drivers like Ferrucci and others, even Sage Karam, iRacing superstar. I think he was a little reckless in his first couple of races, and people see that. They take note of that kind of thing. And also, if you're not courteous as drivers are trying to pass and they're on a lead lap battle and you're a couple laps down and you're driving like they don't exist on the track, it's all stuff that you can work out in the long run, but ultimately you're never going to get to this level of somebody like David Toth, our leader here, as he starts in with 6 to go. You know, the only way that you get to the level of somebody like David Toth, as you can see, and we've seen Adam Crane do this, is so much awareness that in tight situations where there may be a crash happening in front or somebody slowing down and it doesn't look like you can safely make it through, they'll come to a stop on the track. They'll lose positions just to make sure that they stay safe and they stay pointed forward and they don't bounce themselves out of a race. And that is the key factor. Just, you can be aggressive, but at the same time, why take yourself as well as other drivers out of the race? Just have that level of awareness and respect, as we see Toth going by his teammate there. Yeah,
exactly. It's often the, and I think the Formula One culture kind of adds to this. Certainly the Mario Kart culture kind of adds to this too, where it's just bad to be passed, right? It's bad. That means you're doing something bad. You're losing if you're being... no, there's nothing wrong with being passed. It could be strategic. It could be defensive. You're like, that guy's nuts. I'm just going to let him go. There's nothing wrong with being passed. And if you have that mentality, picking your fights, choosing the battles, winning the battles you win, letting the battles go that you can, we're going to have a hard time winning, you'll probably find yourself going a lot farther in races and making a lot more friends out there as well. Oh, Crane wobbling off the hairpin there.
Back to Crane. And speaking of just keeping it pointed forward, again, you know, I don't know if Crane is really struggling here, but looks like his last lap time of 109. He's slipping back into the 109s, 111, so it's not looking real positive at the end of this stint as we get down to 5 to go for Crane. Kind of just pedaling this one, trying to hang on to 4th. He's already got the championship locked up, so it's not like he needs the points, but still not looking to lose that 5th position to Porcelli and wants to go out here on top. He's unfortunately not going to take that West Coast Triple Crown, and that will remain open for another season.
Well, you know, at this point, you're so far committed. You got so much skin in the game, so to speak, in this race that you do not want to have a DNF. But just that will be defeating, even though that he is the champion at the time the green flag fell. So keep it between the lines now. Like I said, early in the race, he could have very easily parked it if he wanted to and made a vacation day of it. But now he's to the point where you got to finish, and you got to finish looking good.
Well, we wait a couple more laps to see whether he can hang on to it, but again,
he's a pro. He will.
You know, it's one of those things. I don't make projections like that anymore, but I've seen Adam Crane do some amazing things with his IndyCar, and hanging on to it in the worst of circumstances is one of those things. But fortunately, due to the amount of work that they're doing over there at Satellite Racing, this has not been a common thing to see the tires wearing off a little bit. So it's possible that maybe this race, perhaps Power Slide and Olsson figuring something else out for the end of these stints, but you just know that somebody like Crane is going to look at how it performed at the end, see where he lost out to Hugo Olsson, and definitely go back and start checking out David Toth's line and his strategy and figure out
for sure
how you can beat that guy, because now it's not enough to be the double champion. You got to worry about drivers like Toth or Oterola coming in next season and having one up on you. Even infamous rival Hugo Olsson from infamous rival team Powerslide Motorsports coming over to challenge you, as we saw early in this season with Henry Bennett and Hugo Olsson.
As the saying goes, I'm not going to name the wrestler. He's in a little trouble right now, but to be the man, you got to beat the man, and that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to take for these other guys to be the champion. You got to beat the champion. The champion is he's not going anywhere.
Well, some other drivers having a great day. Of course, we just talked about David Porcelli.
Bumgarner.
Now the top American in the field at the moment, up 3 spots in the top 5. Matthias Kraus, your second place in the points. Saw him involved in a couple of battles today. He's managed to keep it relatively clean and keep it pointed forward. That's exactly that kind of consistency you need, and that's what he's done all season. He's going to get another close to top 5. You never know till we get to the end of it. It could be a top 5, but we'll see. Michael Bumgarner, again, 2,340 iRating. If he finishes even here in 7th place, he's due to get 70 iRating for finishing in the position that he's in. So, it's again, it's all about relative goals here. And Bumgarner having a great day. Our only C license driver in the field.
Bring it home, man. Bring it home. We're all rooting for you. Bring it home.
Vimont here shown with partially damaged wing. And Dennis Fritz now getting around. Fritz, a frequent driver here on Broadcast Friday. And Fritz actually getting that pass done on Vimont. Looking good.
Look at all of the clag off of these high-speed turns here, man. I would not want to get out in the gray right now.
No, that is a new factor that's happened the last couple of seasons. The amount of rubber buildup that pops up on the outside of the track, something to seriously consider when you got to make a late race pass. But
fortunately, we'll see rain here soon.
That would be very interesting. It's important to put that on camera, because very possibly by the next season we will, of the IndyCar iRacing series, we will have rain. That would add a huge wrinkle to everything, but at the same time, new tire model, different day, different week. David Toth has won already in this series. He doesn't race all the races, but he came back today. The #1 driver is just about to put his stamp on the Long Beach record books as a winner as he makes his way around the final time. The hairpin, the checkered flag is in the air. David Toth heads down, start, finish straight. And there's your winner from today's final IndyCar iRacing Series race. David Toth takes first position. Taking a look 17 seconds back, it's Oterola in that beautiful West. Oh, I guess I can't mention that. My apologies. Well, it's the last race. I can't do anything now. That beautiful Formula One racing livery, McLaren racing livery there.
I believe it was pointed in that direction.
He was going towards the west. That's what I was trying to say. We're in the West Coast. That's what I was referring to. Thank you, Gary.
Of course.
Hugo Olsson brings it home in third. Strong finish for the driver. He ended up passing, really, I think, the only driver that he really wanted to today. I'm just going to say it. It's not a personal thing, but these two have so much history, Hugo Olsson and Adam Crane. Crane doesn't really care, though. I just know it. He wasn't even thinking he might race today just because he didn't need to. But he showed up. He put in a heck of a performance. And even on a day when he doesn't feel like he needs to race well, he still gets a top 5 in the series. Even with this level of competition, just really shows what we've been seeing all season long from this masterful IndyCar racer. We'll get a chance to talk with him soon. Porcelli did bring it home in 5th, though, so the Porcelli fan club, which includes Gary, is happy Porcelli, they're pulling over in disbelief towards the fountain. And
I'll tell you what, I know we haven't got down to him yet, but man, Bumgarner finished in 7th, and you got a fan here, man. We're all happy for you. Yeah, all the C license guys in the entire service are like, yeah.
Win-win for the C licensors. He definitely did. That's again massively outperforming his iRating, and the next car forward is almost double his iRating win, Matthias Kraus. So we're going to take a look here at the final results. And there it is on your screen. It's David Toth in first, Matthias Otarola bringing it home in second, Hugo Olsson in third, Adam Crane fourth, Porcelli fifth, Kraus sixth, Bumgarner, your top, not your top climber. Oh, actually, he was 13.
He was your hard charger too.
Your hard charger winner. Remember that name for the future. Bumgarner making a name here on Broadcast Friday, holding his own against some great competition. Fritz finishing 8th, Viamont in 9th, Sakura 10th, Shiba in 11th, Dirks in 12th, Zabo in 13th, Gerhard 14th, Hangelhop 15th, Chris Willite, another tough day, 16th, getting caught up in a couple different incidents. Giancarlo Schooler in 17th, Fran Garcia in 18th. You can see the rest of them. 19th goes to Leitner, who unfortunately, he was as high as 5th and 6th there for a moment, but
a little wall contact.
Yeah, that one didn't work out in his favor. And well, a number of drivers had a great race today. We'll see if we can trap a few of them and get them to come over and talk with us. While we're waiting for them, I actually have another great driver who I'm going to try to pull into the booth. He's a great part of this series, and so glad to have him now in the booth. Andrew Marquez, can you hear me in the booth? And I don't have him muted. Hey, Andrew, can you hear me, bud?
Let's try this again. Can you hear me now?
There, we gotcha. All right, Andrew. So awesome to have you join us here at the end. What I'm going to do is get the points up there on the screen. Now, we don't know, of course, how this is going to shake out here until Sunday, but basically it looks like you've got 4th place in the points locked up. And so congratulations on a fantastic season. Really it was just dynamic to watch you all season long. We got you a couple of times here on the Broadcast Friday, but congratulations again on a terrific season, top 5 in a class series like this.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's been a long season. Just trying to make all these Friday events and just trying to do my best there. It's not easy knowing how tough the competition is, like week in and week out. But to come away with this season unofficially so far in 4th, I can only be really proud of that, and I can't wait to see how the weekend goes and then see how we go next season.
And I again appreciate you and Scours coming over and participating on our broadcasted races, and great to have that team participation as well. It also must mean something to you. You were actually fighting back and forth with Robin Glennox, whether you knew it or not, as the top American in the points, and actually Glennox having so many bad luck Fridays, never really panning out for him, but he still finds himself, at least as of before today, in 5th spot. If you can take 4th, you'll be the top American finisher in what is a very international series. So again, to represent United States and take a top finish in this series, I mean, it's got to look good going forward. I'm sure. Are you going to be doing Indy Open until next season? Are you planning on doing the 2022 season in IndyCar iRacing series?
So far, that's the plan. Definitely going to be running more of the Indy Open, and I'll still be running Indy Fixed, of course. But yeah, it's been a challenging start for both series for Open and Fixed. But now that both series are starting again to tracks that I'm more comfortable with these short track ovals, I'm looking forward to seeing how those go. As for doing IIS next year, hopefully I'll be there. But right now I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be.
So what then would be your plans for this season for the for everybody who wants to follow along with you? You think you're going to stick around, do Indy Open, and also once you finish telling us your plans for this season, tell us what you thought of today's race with David Toth taking the win.
Yeah. So with Indy Open, definitely want to, goal is for me, I've always wanted to try to improve in this series. I know there's still a lot that I can improve on, to especially face people as fast as Adam Crane, Phil Kraus, and the list goes on and on. I'm a little bit behind their pace, but I definitely want to get better, and I know that with more practice and more seat time, I could definitely get there. As for the race today, I thought it was pretty interesting to see how everything went. For the most part, it kind of went how I thought it would in terms of who would be up at front. And of course, you had your typical street course action where you had to minimize your mistakes or else your day was pretty much done. But to see David Toth pull away with the win, I wouldn't expect anything less from a guy of his caliber.
It's amazing. He dropped in for a race. I think it was Road Atlanta, and he won that race in convincing style. I had no idea. Just random drivers drop in sometimes, and you don't know them from IndyCar racing. And he was the class of the field that race, and definitely it was a pleasure to see him put on a masterclass today. And again, it makes even somebody like Adam Crane's eyebrows go up, I think, when somebody can drop in and be able to take everybody to school like that. But certainly it's very competitive, as you know, across the whole iRacing IndyCar landscape. And Scours is coming up through your team. You've got a number of great supporters as part of the team. And is there anything that you guys think that you need to do as a team, or that you're working on now that the new tire release is out, try to make yourselves more competitive and be able to compete with Power Slide and all the rest on a weekly basis?
Yeah, to be honest with you, yes, with this brand new tire model, it's brought a whole new challenge to this to the IndyCar, one that I welcome a lot, especially being that, well, it's a little bit more oversteery. In the past, it used to be if you got any form of oversteer, you better hope and pray that you could somehow keep it off the wall or not get hit by anybody. But now with the current tire model, it's like you could still get that car slidey, but it's a whole lot easier to catch, and that's the kind of car I love to drive. Like tail happy, but still be able to keep it off the walls. But in terms of, I guess, what our team has to do, we've just, like, as a relatively new team, we're still trying to get our head wrapped around like what kind of setups direction we need to go to in order to become competitive with like the power slides, the VRS satellites, i5G, list goes on. Hopefully, as time goes on and we get more knowledge and data with this new tire model, hopefully we can get ourselves closer to the front. We certainly have the know-how. We just got to put it out there and put it to work.
Well, that is your work to do, and we continue to watch you climb up through the ranks, not only here in the IndyCar iRacing series, which you put in an awesome effort all season, and of course finishing hopefully in that fourth spot. We'll see how it all works out for you, but either way, great racing all season long here, and then also, in Indy Road Open, seen you in a number of different series, finishing well and continuing to climb with Scours and the rest of your teammates, and it's just awesome to see you and a number of other friends that we have. I've seen everybody kind of rising together and getting to get your competition level to the point where you can take on the Adam juggernaut of the world, the Adam Blockers, Adam Crane, and all the other elites that are part of this IndyCar community. But absolutely fantastic, Andrew, and thanks for your analysis of the race. Hey, will you stay here in the booth with us while we interview Hugo Olsson?
Absolutely, why not?
Awesome. Okay, be thinking of a question you can ask Hugo, and let's see if we can get him in here. Hey, Hugo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Hugo. It was something else yesterday in the IndyCar fixed race where you were chasing down Adriano from 10 seconds back, and you had the pace at the end. You were almost able to catch him. Today, you did something just as masterful in getting around Adam Crane, and you waited and waited and waited, and then finally got around him. And then it seemed like you had so much pace at the end, you might have had something for the leaders. But congratulations again on a third place finish and a great end to your season here in the IndyCar iRacing series.
Yeah, thanks. I was behind Crane for the whole race, and I realized pretty early that the race for me would be between Crane and me. So I was just planning for that and seeing how the tires behaved and trying to like stay close to him. And then I found that my car was a bit better on the long runs, so I just tried to stay close to him. And the first two stints I couldn't make a move, but on the third stint I just tried to stay as close as possible in the first sector, attacking the corners really hard, and I got right up his gearbox there for a couple of corners, and then he made a mistake and I was able to make a move up the inside.
I mean, so much patience. It was lap after lap after lap. You were trying to hound Adam Crane, and I can only imagine how difficult it is trying to even rattle Adam Crane, but he doesn't seem to rattle very easily. Finally, he made that mistake on the back. You were ready to pounce, and then, making some more progress towards Matthias Otarola there. So, what are your plans now that the season has come to an end? I know you missed a few weeks here in this season, and that kind of cost you in the points. But are you going hard with Power Slide and going towards the Indy Open Championship next, or what are your plans?
As of right now, I'm not sure. Like, I just jumped into this IIS race to try out the new tires and just have some fun racing with some quick guys. I don't think I'll be able to commit to the Open Series right now, but of course, in the 500, iRacing in the 500 in May next year, a long-term goal. And also just hanging around doing some fun races.
Well, either way, anytime we get a chance to see you out there, Hugo, it is a pleasure. And it's been great. In the beginning, the first few races of this season, it was you and Henry Bennett giving Adam all he could handle for many races in a row. That was a blast to watch, and it was great to have you come back here for this final race and give us a great reminder of the type of level of talent that you have. And of course, again, for your fans, why don't we why don't we let Andrew ask any question that he would like? Andrew Marquez is still here. Andrew, do you have any questions for Hugo?
None that I could think of, but just, but to be honest with you, it's less of a question, more like I got to give him props for, he could just jump in at any race and already be one of the guys to watch. It just says a lot about the kind of skill set that he brings to the table, and I just want to say, hey, awesome job today.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Well, I also want to give you an opportunity for the first time here on the broadcast. Hey, Hugo, would you like to say some words in Swedish for your fans?
Yeah, sure. Got to figure out what to say. Kul alla som kollade och hoppas att... vad ska jag säga för något? Hoppas att ni kan fortsätta kolla på iRacing IndyCar-loppen. Jag kommer nog köra några fixed-lopp på torsdagar framöver.
And your fans are going crazy out there. Thank you so much for joining us here in the interview. I appreciate it, Hugo. And will you stick around for a second? We're going to bring in your rival, Adam Crane, and get a chance to chat with him. And can you hear me over there, Adam Crane?
I do believe I got a copy.
All right. Well, Adam Crane, Hugo Olsson in the booth, as well as Andrew Marquez, myself, Gary Godzo. It's very full in here. I see Justin Petshower lurking in the background also. But Adam Crane, you did it again today. You weren't even sure if you were going to race, but you showed up. You put in another masterful 5th place or top 5 finish, ending up in 4th. You lost the position to Hugo, but it doesn't matter. You're still the champion. Congratulations, 2 in a row. And it must feel pretty spectacular to not only be the champion here, but also of the Indy Road Series. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure running with high-level competitors, which I would say that everyone in the top 5, top 10 were, and definitely across the season. Happy to bring home a top 5. Didn't feel all that comfortable in the car. Hugo was just a lot better than me in quite a few places, and I just had a little bit of a right front lockup heading into turn 8, which once I made it, I essentially knew I was sunk. So just sort of handed over the position to the faster car, and then brought it home.
Discretion, better part of valor. You know that maybe you damaged the car and you can't really defend the position. Still great to bring it home in one piece. You know, you'd be my type of driver if I was a team owner. You don't write off cars. But that's been the story all this season, Adam. You basically have responded from incidents early on. Road America and Montreal come to mind, where you drifted all the way to the back of the pack, had to make a run all the way to the front. You've done it multiple times this season and shown that you're willing to not only put your head down and earn points when you have to, but that you take that frustration of something not going right and you manage to make lemons into lemonade. And I think that's not only led to some race wins and some great glory moments in passing, but also this kind of a thing, a championship being rewarded to you you were rewarded for this, I would say, as early as 3 races into the season. That's how well 3 races back from the end of the season is what I mean.
Yeah,
3 races ago. You didn't have it locked up 3 races in, that's for sure. It was a tight battle at that point, but nevertheless, you had to hold it together all season long. You had numerous challengers like David Toth coming out of nowhere. Still, it's your name at the top of the record books, and today's performance is pretty much it in a nutshell. When you couldn't win it, you still settled for 4th, but it's good enough to take the win overall.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, based on just how the math worked, it looked like I had pretty much sewn it up with like 2 rounds ago. But I mean, I'm still out here digging, trying to get better as a driver and work on some sets. I actually was just telling Justin that I have this affliction where I'll walk into the race session and I'll make a bunch of changes in the warm up practice before the session, and it completely changes the balance of the car, and it just gets me like 75% of the time it works, and 25% of the time it doesn't. And this is the 25% of the time that didn't. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long year. Happy to finally be able to get this one off my timesheet. And yeah.
So what are you going to do with your Fridays now?
I will probably be working more with Satellite Racing on all the endurance calendar stuff they've got going on between IVRA and SCO and a couple of other endurance stuff that the team's got going on. But I'll still be around for a bunch of IndyCar stuff because I love the car and love the community. And yeah, it should be a little bit chiller of a winter break, but look forward to starting it back up again in the springtime.
Well, of course, we've got to wait until Sunday before it becomes totally official. But again, it's just been an absolute pleasure to watch you stack up all those points and pretty much take on everybody who would possibly try to mount a challenge. Some of them tried really hard, but they couldn't hold on. How about a driver like David Toth? Would you see a driver like that come in and be able to put down great pace and win races? Pro level world championship license, 7,000 plus iRating. I mean, do you still look at that as somebody to aspire to being able to beat him, and are you going to go back and try and learn something from his lines and still take it to a higher level, or does it not concern you and you just keep doing what you do?
No, I mean, I'll take information from any source, and I was actually talking with him a little bit earlier in the practice session before the race, and I think he might have been running on the correct setup shop set for the race. So just shows you how skilled and talented how he is, and I mean, anytime you got a guy of his skill level, current world championship level driver coming in, it's gonna raise the skill level that you need to have in the race and raise the commitment of all the other competitors. So that's always a good thing. Mark Scaife would say that he's at the peak of his powers. So anytime that I'm 30 seconds off of a world championship level driver and not necessarily feeling the most comfortable anyways, then I think that's a win.
I agree completely. Well, I'll go ahead and open up the floor now. I would invite Adam Crane to speak in his native language of Canadian, but that's just joking around. But anybody have a question for the champion, Adam Crane? Anybody want to talk to? See, they're nervous. They don't.
Oh my goodness.
They don't want to ask the wrong question, like what all of your secrets are. Adam, while we have you here, just tell us. I mean, what is your approach to a race? I mean, break it down for me. You're going to prepare for this race today. If you're taking it seriously, if this is a championship race today, how do you prepare? Do you go into setup development weeks in ahead? Are you developing brand new from scratch with the new tire model? How does your development go into today?
Well, the development on this tire model has been a little weird just because the first couple races are sort of unique tracks that don't necessarily translate to perhaps the larger calendar that IndyCar goes to. I'll be honest and say I'm still nowhere near comfortable in the car, still trying a whole bunch of ride heights and spring settings and damper settings to try to find a little bit more comfort, and I still haven't necessarily found that yet. But I mean, coming into the race, you sort of have a baseline that you want to try to find. And I was working off of the Laguna set, which I mean was about as good as the satellite racing and myself could come up with for the immediate moment. And so just looked at ride heights and fuel levels and stuff, and just gamed out a little bit of a strategy about what the race would look like. And for the most part, IAS has always been a two-stop race, so pretty uncomplicated there, and just trying to figure out whether red tires are still king, which they are. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The toughest parts are just going to be trying to build a setup around what you're comfortable with and trying to make sure that there's lap time there to actually have pace in the car.
And it all culminates in you having to put the pedal to the metal when the green flag drops, and of course make all of your adjustments in race and deal with tire degradation. Final question for me: the new tire model. We're going to head into next season. Gary brought it up. We could have rain by by the 2022 IndyCar iRacing series.
That'd be a treat.
I just want to ask you, knowing that could be on the horizon. And also, other things may come with that. A little dampness on the track might affect things. Cold tracks being more affected by wetness than warmer tracks, perhaps. All of these things could be at play. What do you think we're going to see over the next several months? And what are your plans going to be to attack these adjustments as they get released from iRacing?
Well, only iRacing knows for sure, or has a better idea about what we're going to be getting within the next 6 to 12 months. But if we were to get something like rain and a better track surface model where there's variable grip / abrasion levels, then it'll definitely make driving a lot more dynamic and interesting. I think you'll probably see that the drivers who have a natural talent and a natural skill for driving on lower variable grip surfaces will probably come to the surface more. And I think that's perhaps why I'm just a little uncomfortable with the car as it is because top of the stint to bottom of the stint, the tire balance and the grip levels can change so much that it's just not necessarily something I'm comfortable with yet. But hopefully by the time that something like rain and the track model improvements are available by iRacing, then everyone will be a little bit more comfortable with that variable grip formula, and the racing can come down to really just about who's got a little bit better strategy and a little bit better feel for grip levels.
Well, there's the predictions and how he's going to handle it. Follow along with Adam Crane as he continues his search. He's ended this search. He'll get crowned the championship on Sunday when that race completes. But officially, Adam Crane now the champion in Indy Open, the reigning champion here in IndyCar iRacing Series, and he's chasing another Indy Road Open championship. He hasn't dropped away from that. Currently sitting in third place in the points there. Absolutely best of luck to you for the rest of the Indy Open championship. We'll be rooting on our champion to see you do it twice in a row over there, but then also through the rest, and hopefully we get a chance to see you back in IndyCar iRacing Series, assuming they don't change it into like a pro series or something like that, and it's the same format. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see you back in 2022.
Yeah, I hope it's the same format, and maybe with a few other IndyCar tracks, maybe an updated Indy Oval / road course would be pretty nice too. But I just want to say thanks to everyone at VirtualRacing.Network and yourself, Trevor, for putting on these broadcasts this year. It's been a real treat for the community and the series to have a broadcast race for the Friday SOF, and really big props to you and everyone with Virtual Racing Network for putting that on, and a big thanks and congratulations to everyone who participated in the season this year. Everyone coming out is just awesome for the series and the car, and hopefully we'll be able to build on the progress we've made this season next season.
Totally. I appreciate the kind words. Thanks, Adam. You're always great talking with me, and I appreciate what you do, not only for us, but the broadcast, but the community as well. You're a great champion to have on board, and definitely a great representative. So thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Hey, man. So that was Adam Crane joining us, as well as Hugo Olsson, Andrew Marquez. Any other comments you guys have before we sign off the broadcast on another season?
Well, I like to put in things into historical terms when a feat is accomplished. We like to compare ourselves to the real drivers that are out there that have raced IndyCar current and past. And, of all the Hinchcliffes and the Taglianis and the Carpentiers of the world, of the Canadians that have driven an IndyCar, only two in the whole history of IndyCar have ever won the IndyCar championship. That's Jacques Villeneuve and Paul Tracy. So if you want to put yourself in rarefied air, albeit is a sim, Adam Crane is now in the same category on the sim-wise as Paul Tracy and Jacques Villeneuve in the rarity of Canadian champions. And that should be applauded and recognized, because, you have all these Americans and all these Brazilians and all these, but there's so few Canadians, and there's so good Canadian drivers that his effort probably should be recognized even more.
I completely agree. From that's a great comment to make, and of course, indeed, the IndyCar series, seeing so many great champions over the years from Canada. Obviously, Paul Tracy, who's still floating around and doing commentary, etc. Wouldn't that be cool if we're seeing Adam Crane in 20 years doing commentary from the VirtualRacing.Network? But still,
as long as he's not talking about Danica Patrick's shoes.
Well, I'll leave it to Adam to decide whether he wants to or not. Whatever. At some point when you're a champion and you do that well with an IndyCar, you pretty much do whatever you want and say whatever you want.
Say what you want. Well, that's all. Well, that's AJ Foyt. So yeah.
Well, congratulations, as you see there on the screen, 2021 IndyCar iRacing Series champion Adam Crane. Second place most likely is going to Matthias Kraus, and then I didn't have it. I guess Andrew Marquez will end up in fourth place. We're still going to figure this out and maybe have an update for you on our Facebook or our Twitter on Sunday. let you all know how it worked out. But thank you all for joining us for this season. It's been fantastic. Enjoyed having everybody in the booth today, especially Gary Godso. Thank you so much, buddy, for joining me. You did fantastic as always. And what are you working on next? You're going to be over in the VOR booth, and so go ahead and tell everybody what you're doing, Gary, so people can catch you over there.
Sure. Well, I'll of course be calling the European Thursday Strength of Field IndyCar Fixed with you on Thursday. But next you will hear me on Tuesday with the Formula Indy Series as they visit their next track. I will be competing in the VOR series, and let's see, that's about it. A lot of my broadcasting duties have kind of as the seasons, the Reddit League have kind of are in between seasons, and the TI IndyCar League, which is now changing their name to the American Open Wheel Racing Series. They've just recently ended. I was in the booth with them. A lot of these leagues have kind of ended their current season. So I have availability. So if anybody else is doing any IndyCar broadcasts and you want a color commentator, let me know. But otherwise, I think Trevor is going to probably occupy me with as many as possible, and I'm all right with that.
I was going to say, we like you over here, Gary. So as we set up more broadcasting, definitely you'll be a part of our team. We've got other great broadcasters too. Beck Kingsbury joining me on Saturdays. Occasionally he's on the Sunday broadcast as well. We'll be doing IMSA tomorrow for the second straight week. Might be changing the timeline for that, but then Sunday we'll have the U.S. IndyCar League. As always, right here, VirtualRacing.Network, bright and early in the morning, 7 o'clock out here on West Coast time. So before IndyCars are rolling in Long Beach, we'll be getting in a race as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Catch Gary Godso on his channels. You can see his Twitter there on the screen, at Gary Godso on Twitter. And I'm at Virtual Racing. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates. And we'll see you next season. Congratulations to the series champion, Adam Crane, and all the rest of the competitors. On behalf of myself, everybody in the IndyCar iRacing series, and all of Virtual Racing Network, it's been an absolute pleasure to do the broadcasts from this booth. And thank you so much for making the IndyCar iRacing series a huge popular success. We'll see you again next season, everybody. So long for now. Bye-bye.